Okay, Night of Champions 2015. Just wrapped it up about 15 minutes or so ago. I had to grab a quick snack. No joke, seriously. If you would ever see the notes that I take for these things, you could tell I'm getting hungry towards the end because my handwriting gets progressively more and more scribbly. Well, anyway, getting to the show, well, not the show proper, it's actually the kickoff show, where there's not too much to touch on except right at the beginning, it was announced by Sheamus, actually, that he had been informed that Seth Rollins' 2 title defenses would be back-to-back. And then he sort of pats the Money in the Bank briefcase and says, maybe I'll just cash it in tonight. Then that leads us into the kickoff show match, which is Neville and the Lucha Dragons versus Stardust and the Ascension, or as Michael Cole dubbed them, the Astral Alliance. That's astral, as in, you know, dream projection and stuff like that. Not astro as in, you know, Astros. Anyway. Starting off, Sin Cara and Connor of the Ascension started the first 2 in. Kalisto got tagged in. Stardust got tagged in. Early on, the Lucha Dragons hit a suicide dive to the outside of the ring on the Ascension, while Neville hit a moonsault on the Stardust. Victor from the Ascension hit Kalisto with a big shoulder block that allowed the Astral Alliance to kind of gain the upper hand, begin isolating Kalisto. Kalisto countered a top rope powerbomb attempt into a Hurricane Rana. Neville got the hot tag. Stardust hit a Uranagi on Neville for 2. Neville eventually set Stardust up for the Red Arrow, but Stardust was able to get up and pushed Victor into Neville. And this enabled Stardust to hit the Queen's Crossbow for the 3 and the win. Pretty basic match, standard kickoff show material, so wasn't entirely bad, but not memorable by any stretch of the imagination. Then one last note for the kickoff show. There was a Q&A Twitter session with the New Day where Xavier Woods came out and he had this horrible red stripes in his hair. That's Xavier Woods, yeah. Obviously with New Day. They didn't pay too much attention to the questions. Something about a trombone. And he, like I said, he's got these big red stripes in his hair. It looks horrible. Okay, now on to the show proper. Starting things off, we have the Intercontinental Championship match between Ryback and Kevin Owens. Early on, Ryback got a big pop for his entrance, but Owens got a way, way, way bigger pop for his entrance. I'm wondering if maybe some of the audience from the Elimination Chamber was there in the arena too, because, like I said, it was a really big pop, even though he's still the heel. Early on, Ryback did a big press slam on Owens to the outside of the ring. Owens then managed to kind of get on the ring apron. Well, Owens was in the ring. Ryback was on the ring apron. Owens put Ryback in a hammerlock and then sort of shoved him into the ring post. That hurt Ryback's arm. Well, hurt. Then they began targeting the arm. Owens began targeting the arm. At some point during the match, I don't know if this was intentional or not, but Ryback said something about his elbow, and Owens replied, "Shut up!" Owens hit a running senton onto... Owens hit a running senton onto Ryback's arm. Ryback began to rally, hit a big power slam for a 2 count, hit a spine buster for a 2 count. Ryback went for a meat hook clothesline. Owens countered that with a super kick. But Ryback managed to get back up, managed to rally again after Owens put Ryback into an armbar. Ryback eventually rolled out of it, managed to get Owens up for the shell shock, but then Owens raked the eyes of Ryback, which led to a roll-up, 3 count. Your new Intercontinental Champion is Kevin Owens. After that, we have the Ziggler-Rusev match. And to show you how noteworthy this match is, the highlight of it was that I noticed that someone in the front row had an Ico Pro shirt. Yeah, Ico Pro. If you don't remember what Ico Pro is, and I don't blame you if you do, when they tried to start the World Bodybuilding Federation, they had this it was a supplement of some kind. I can't remember if it was a supplement pill or if it was one of those weight gain powders you're supposed to mix into a shake. Yeah, it was one of those two, and it was called IcoPro, and it was to tie into the WBF, but because it was also a Vince McMahon company, anytime you watch early 90s WWE programming, or WWF programming, like Primetime Wrestling, even early episodes of Raw, from 91 to 92, well, late 93, there's IcoPro banners all over the dang place. Because the the WBF flopped, and he got stuck with all this IcoPro he had to cross-promote. And eventually they just discontinued it, I think, because that was around the time that the steroid trial started. Like I said, when that's the highlight of the match, that really says something, because anyway, early on, Rusev was totally beating on Ziggler. Ziggler got a small package for it, too. The crowd started chanting, we want Lana, we want Lana. That allowed Ziggler to kind of rally on Rusev, because Rusev was paying more attention to the crowd. Rusev then hit a sidewalk slam for a 2. Ziggler hit the Famouser for the 2. Rusev hit a super kick for a 2. Ziggler hit a super kick for a 2. Rusev then started celebrating because he thought he'd gotten another win, and he went for the accolade. So at that point, the Summer Rae, for some reason, started to interfere into the match, and the ref basically kicked her out. He sent her to the back. She got angry. She took off one of her shoes. She threw it one way out of the ring. She took off her other shoe. She threw it into the ring, and it hit Rusev in the face. This enabled Ziggler to hit the zigzag for the 3 count. Yeah. So, rushing through that, because really that was about it. Like I said, the highlight of the match was the guy in the IcoPro shirt. Okay, the 4th match of the night was the Tag Team Championship match between the New Day and the returning Dudley Boyz. Early on, the New Day came down. They cut another really big heel promo, saying all the people who signed the petition to save the tables, citing the Authority. Let's see, who else? Jeez. Oh, it's one of the other. It's another big athlete in baseball. I can't remember who. Barack Obama, they said, which got booed because they're in Texas, and that's really all I remember. Dudley's came out. Kofi early on slapped Devon in the back of the head. Devon responded with a big clothesline. They rolled out of the ring. Xavier Woods tried to call timeout. The Dudleys began double teaming Big E. Xavier distracted Bubba long enough for New Day to begin to get the upper hand. Big E hit his big ring apron splash onto Bubba. After that, let's see, Devon got a hot tag. The Dudleys hit the 3D, but Xavier breaks up the pin for the DQ, which is odd because technically, as part of the New Day, the Freebird rule is in effect, which means you can pin any member, so therefore that shouldn't have been a DQ finish. But anyway, the New Day begins beating down the Dudleys big time. Big E then calls for Xavier to get the tables. The Dudleys then fight back and wind up 3D'ing Xavier Woods through the table. Yeah, that was bad. It was not a good match, again. Excuse me. And speaking of forgettable matches, the Divas Championship match, Charlotte versus Nikki Bella. I wanted to like this match. I tried not to fall into the Divas Revolution thing isn't working, but the Divas Revolution thing is starting to not work very well. There was one interesting fact. Early on when PCB entered, Paige was not as enthusiastic as Charlotte and Becky Lynch were. So obviously they're planting the seeds for her eventual turning on the team. Early on, Nikki started doing push-ups outside of the ring. Charlotte did something where she rolled out of the ring. I didn't quite see it exactly, but she tweaked her knee. So they're doing the whole babyface is injured, mounts a big comeback story. Nikki whipped Charlotte into the ring apron. Again, just targeted the whole knee, basically the entire time. really, Charlotte mounted almost no offense in this. It was all Nikki targets the knee, Nikki targets the knee. At one point, Nikki locked Charlotte in a half Boston Crab. Charlotte tried to go to the ropes, but then Team Bella, Alicia Fox, and Brie started to pull the rope away, but Nikki stopped and said, no, 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 you can't do that, because going into the match, it was announced that Nikki could lose the belt by disqualification, so she couldn't have that happen. This enabled Charlotte to get a roll-up for a 2 count. Eventually, Nikki went to the top rope, tried to hit a flying forearm, but Charlotte countered with a spear. That enabled Charlotte to lock on the figure 8 and get the win. Yeah. This was a terrible match. I don't mind the idea of the wounded babyface making the big comeback, but the wounded babyface never made the big comeback. She got one lucky move, and that enabled her. Yeah, that's not how that works. You know, like I said, I don't mind that, but at least have her get some offense in, get some more offense in, then have Nikki go back to the targeting the knee. It was about 5 to 6 minutes of just nonstop Nikki Bella targeting the knee. Nikki locking on a cloverleaf. Nikki locking on a half Boston Crab. Nikki doing a leg whip to Charlotte on the outside of the ring. It was just kind of boring. The match 6 for the night is the Wyatt family versus Reigns, Ambrose, and their mystery partner. The mystery partner turns out to be Chris Jericho. And the announcers were all shocked. Oh, they pulled one out. Chris Jericho. Who would have thought that? Well, kind of everyone sort of thought it was going to be Chris Jericho. I think the internet spoiled. I want to say it was Dave Meltzer. I may be wrong on that. Someone spoiled it. It was going to be either Orton or Jericho. And anyway, Ambrose and Harper started things off. Reigns and Ambrose then double-teamed Braun Strowman. Strowman then managed to press slam Y2J onto Ambrose and Reigns outside of the ring. Harper hit a super kick on Reigns for a 2 count. Bray hit a running senton on Reigns on the outside of the ring. Eventually, Jericho got Wyatt into the walls of Jericho. Ambrose countered his sister Abigail attempt for a 2 count. Roman Reigns got in. He managed to hit a couple of Superman punches on Braun Strowman. That's going to be difficult to say. He then went for a big spear, nailed Strowman again, went for another big spear. Jericho blind tagged into the match, hit the lion salt for a 2 count. It was at this point that Bray Wyatt yanked Roman Reigns out of the ring. Ambrose had done a suicide dive onto Luke Harper on the outside of the ring. I guess they were both knocked out. I didn't quite see. I don't think the cameras showed at all. And that basically enabled Strowman to gain the upper hand. He hit his backbreaker slam thing and then locked on his, I'm going to call it a bear hug until I hear a name for it. He locks on the bear hug. Jericho passes out. Wyatt family wins. Yeah, again, pretty forgettable match. And that leads us to the main event, whatever. The United States Championship match. Seth Rollins versus John Cena. Early on, Rollins was obviously trying to go for a quick match, trying to get it to end early so he didn't overexhaust himself for Sting, and maybe to prepare for Sheamus coming in at some point. In fact, before the match, there was a little vignette in the back, or behind the scenes thing. Well, not behind the scenes, whatever, in the locker room. You know, Triple H and Seth come in with wish Rollins good luck. And he says, he's ready, he's ready. Then Sheamus walks in and kind of taps Money in the Bank briefcase again and goes, he better be ready. And like I said, anyway, early on, like I said, it was pretty much Rollins' offense throughout the early point of this match. He had a blockbuster for a 2 count. He then locked on a sleeper, which normally early on in a match that's just done to pad things out, but in this case it actually makes sense since Rollins is trying to win the match quickly and not overexert himself for his second match with Sting. So, like I said, that actually makes sense. It was pretty good execution on that case. Rollins then tied Cena up on the turnbuckle, hit a big double stomp onto him. Rollins then kind of began showboating into the crowd, so now it's Cena to get a roll-up for a 2. Cena hit a sunset flip for a 2. Cena countered a powerbomb attempt with a head scissors, throwing Rollins into the turnbuckle. Rollins hit a superplex and then followed up with another vertical suplex that got a 2 count. Let's see. Cena didn't do any of his top rope stunner stuff. He did put on his STF hold, but Rollins got to the ropes. I'm trying to think if there was anything. Rollins went for another. He went for kind of a reverse suplex, but it didn't quite work well long enough. Cena got a slam, got up to the second rope, or his top rope, to his guillotine leg drop. Followed that up with an AA for the 3 and the win. Your new United States champion is John Cena. At this point, Rollins tried to slink out of the ring, but Cena caught him and said, "No, no, no, you got a second match. You got to wait. No, no, I'm the man." And again, Rollins tried to escape. Cena grabbed him, hit the attitude adjustment on the concrete, and rolled Rollins back into the ring. That sets up the main event for the night. The WWE World Heavyweight Championship match, Seth Rollins versus Sting. Sting came right out, hit a splash right away, went for the Scorpion Deathlock, but Rollins got to the ropes. Eventually Rollins there's some fighting outside the ring. They took the top off the announce table. Rollins grabbed a monitor, but Sting got to him before Rollins could use it as a weapon. Eventually, they both got onto the announce table. Rollins then shoved Sting hard enough that he fell through the Spanish announce table. They didn't clear the monitors off of that table or anything. In fact, one of the monitors just cracked Sting right in the back of the head. I think at some point Sting suffered a legit concussion during this match, which we'll talk about. Rollins tried to leave as they were checking out Sting, but he changed his mind. He came back. He started beating on Sting. Sting kind of rallied. Rollins was up on the top rope. Sting pushed him. Rollins flew into the barricade. Sting hit a big stinger splash out on the outside of the ring. Sting got Rollins back in, hit the Scorpion Death Drop, but Rollins was able to get his foot on the ropes before the 3 count could be made. Rollins began to fight back, and then Sting kind of collapsed. He just sort of, and he was really unresponsive. Like I said, at some point, again, at another point, Rollins hit his powerbomb turnbuckle thing, and again, Sting hit the back of his head really hard. I think, like I said, I'm not entirely sure. I have not read any other reports. I'm pretty sure Sting was legit concussed at some point because they did have to check him out. But he eventually got okayed. The match resumed. Sting countered a pedigree attempt into a deathlock, a Scorpion Deathlock. Rollins got to the ropes a second time. Rollins went for another pedigree. Sting countered in the Scorpion Deathlock again. However, Rollins was able to roll through that and get into a small package. Got the 3 count and the win. As that happened and Rollins celebrated in the ring a successful World Championship defense at least, Sheamus's music hits. He runs down to the ring. He hits a big bro kick on Seth Rollins. He starts trying to cash in Money in the Bank, but then Kane's music hits. Kane comes down to the ring. Sheamus gets out of the ring. Kane chokeslams Rollins. Sheamus gets into the ring and says, "Yeah, chokeslam him again, chokeslam him again." Kane chokeslams Sheamus. Kane then tombstones Rollins, and that's how the show ended. Yeah, this overall this show was not very good. The two title defenses by Seth Rollins were at least watchable. Not much else. The Intercontinental match was all right. Nothing else on the show really was. Like I said, the Kickoff Match was pretty good too, but overall, this was a very, very mundane, forgettable show. Okay, so, well, next month's a big month for WWE because it's the Brock Lesnar, something in Hell tour. Yeah, anyway, it's the big Brock Lesnar month. He's going to, they have the house show thing, or the televised house show at Madison Square Garden on October 3rd. October 19th, he's going to be a guest on the Stone Cold podcast. And then Hell in a Cell against The Undertaker, October 25th. So, October's going to be a busy month with WWE because they also have the NXT TakeOver which is the finals of the Dusty Rhodes Classic, and the Bayley-Sasha Banks Iron Woman match. With me personally, obviously, next Monday will be the Tick Naked City random trade review. Obviously, the next wrestling special will probably be the Brock Lesnar one. Okay, I'm starting to just ramble now, so see you then.